Well, folks, your pal Sully has bronchitis, which is an ideal thing to have if you're doing a podcast.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I have bronchitis, and so I like to think that doing this podcast is as heroic as Kirk Gibson's home run in the 1988 World Series. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully, but Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And you can start this season with a big return on FanDuel, our sponsor for today's show. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with 150 bucks in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit fanduel.com to get started. Yeah, I came down with bronchitis, and it kind of made me not want to do a show last night. I swear that's why I didn't do a show. And but I'm back today, and I'm probably gonna do a show over the weekend as well to sort of make up for the day that I missed there. But hey, slow news week, of course. But one of the big news going on, obviously the big kahuna, the big fish out there in terms of free agents is Juan Soto. Juan Soto is an MVP candidate. Juan Soto is in the prime of his career. Juan Soto is a World Series champion. Juan Soto is an all-star. Juan Soto can do a little bit of everything. And he is going to be, how old is Juan Soto? Juan Soto is going to be 26 years old. He is 26 years old. He already has a World Series ring. He's already a four-time all-star. He has done a lot in the game of baseball, had a fabulous season with the New York Yankees this last year, led the league in runs scored, had a terrific OPS plus, big home run totals, big RBI totals, big walk totals. Man is an on base percentage of 419. He is obviously a remarkable player and in his prime, and has Scott Boras as his agent, who is going to try to have the ultimate revenge tour after having a pretty lousy offseason last year. Well, the news is that Juan Soto is going to meet with Steve Cohen next week. Steve Cohen owns the Mets. Steve Cohen has all the money in the world. There's not a dollar he has that exists out there that he doesn't already have. Now, Miguel Ledesma, a man whose last name was so nice he uses it twice, says, as a blue and orange Mets fan, I just hope that Boras and Soto don't drag this out. They're going to. And by the way, if they drag it out and he signs with the New York Metropolitans, you will be thrilled. Basically, Juan Soto has done everything you need to do in the early part for a Hall of Fame resume. He's been an elite player several times now. He's been as I said, he's already been a World Series champion. And just in terms of being one of the elite players in the game, if you like WAR, he has had 3 seasons where he's been the top 10 of WAR for position player in his very young career. And whomever signs him will have an elite. Sorry, I'm trying to not make noises with my bronchitis. So you gotta bear with me. They're gonna have a Hall of Fame caliber player play the rest of their prime, basically signing with a team whose hat will be on his plaque. And if it drags out, it drags out. It dragged out for Bryce Harper, and he is going to have a Phillies hat on his plaque. It dragged out for Machado, and Machado's going to have a San Diego hat on his plaque. So if this drags out for Soto, don't worry. Don't worry. You'll forget about how long it dragged out. It's if you're a Met fan. Michael Kay had the great point that if the Mets want Juan Soto, they will get Juan Soto. They're the richest owner. They have a spot ready for him. They're a team that's drooling to make it to the next step. They got to within 2 games of the World Series. They should be a contender next year. They should contend against Philadelphia for the division, and adding Boris to the adding Soto through Boris to the Mets should go a long way. And the Mets will sign, and they will sign more than Boris because they know they have a window of opportunity to be an elite ball club. And if money's not an option with them. So it's interesting to hear Yankee fans complain about the about teams wanting to outbid them. It's not very self-aware. For years and years, the Yankees could outbid everyone, and now there's some other big kids on the block, and Yankee fans are like, "Well, I hope he takes a discount, or I hope he falls in love with the pinstripes." Offer him more money. Find out what he's going to get, and offer $1 more because the Yankees desperately need him. The Mets want him. The Yankees need him. If you remove him, now the Yankees are going to have a ton of players who are going to leave. Torres is probably gone. Verdugo's probably gone. They have a bunch of free agents on their team. This team that got to the World Series this year and damn nearly got to Game 6. And if they got to Game 6, the Dodgers didn't have a rotation for 6 and 7. So there was a realistic chance the Yankees could have won the World Series. This team is going to look a lot different next year. But you can't afford to not have Soto, Judge Soto on this club. That is a Jenga piece that is not going to be replaceable, and there's nobody available who is going to have comparable to Soto's output. And don't give me any well, if we get 2 or 3 good players, that'll match up. Nope, it won't. They've tried that route before. That won't work. They can't afford to let Soto go, which means they're going to have to outbid him. Tubu says, glad he's meeting with the Mets first. What do you think Cohen's strategy will be? I think Cohen's strategy, and this is how I think it's going to go. He is going to say, how much do you want to sign? Soto will say, we want to sign for this amount. The Mets will say, what if we offer you this? Soto will go and talk to all the other teams. And then once those bids come about, the Mets will call him up and say, what's your highest bid? I'll give you $1 more. And then meet the Mets, greet the Mets. That's the strategy. We will give you more money. There'll be more money in our dump truck full of money than other teams. Now, it's the greatest situation for Boris is because he has teams that are desperate and with deep pockets. The Red Sox fans are getting their pitchforks and torches and heading over to the and going over to Fenway Park saying, hey, put a contender on the field. As every year, the Mookie Betts trade is looking more and more like the second worst trade in the history of Red Sox history. And I do believe it has leapfrogged the Jeff Bagwell trade as the second worst trade in baseball history. We all know the first one, it's Babe Ruth. But the Red Sox could get into it just to quell their fans. The Blue Jays could get into it because they have a whole nation to mollify, and that would go a long way. I think it would be hilarious if San Diego does. The Dodgers are making noise that Mookie Betts is going to move back to the infield. And if he does that, plus with Teoscar Hernandez probably dipping his toe into the free agent waters, I think he should. But I also think the Dodgers should make a big move to bring him back. But if you suddenly put Soto in the lineup, along with Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, and Mookie Betts, that'd be interesting. Of course, what I think the Dodgers should do is sign every available free agent pitcher right now. Sign Burns, sign Sean Manaea, sign Blake Snell, sign Yusei Kikuchi, sign everybody they can grab who is a pitcher who is available. Yeah, I know they're going to get Tyler Glasnow back. I know they're going to get a full season out of Yamamoto, and probably Ohtani's going to be back pitching. But I don't know. He's having shoulder surgery, and they may say, "No, don't pitch." The Dodgers won the World Series without a starting rotation last year, and I would advise them not to do that again. If Nestor Cortez got Freddie Freeman to pop up and the Yankees held on to a 5-0 lead in game 5, they would be down 3-2 with no pitchers for game 6 and 7. They got to get starting pitching and sign as many as you possibly can. And that's got to be a bigger priority for the Dodgers. But you've got all these different teams. The Seattle Mariners have money and an angry fan base right now, as they remain the only franchise to not play in the World Series, and they barfed up a 10-game lead this year. Angry fans, angry. Tubu asks, is he going to be the highest? If he's going to the highest bidder, won't that be the Mets? Yeah, I think it will be, which is why Michael Kay made the great point that if the Mets want him, he'll be a Met. I think they should offer him a big pile of money, saying, "Go out, my child," and then come fly back, Starling, come fly back, and say, "Oh, the Blue Jays offer you that? We'll give you that plus $1. Meet the Mets, greet the Mets." That's what's going to happen. I think the Dodgers should treat all of the free agent pitchers like it's an episode of Supermarket Sweep and sign all of them, because some of them are going to get hurt. All right? But they should say, "Hey, how would you like to play from the World Series next year? Get yourself a ring and be a millionaire in the process." That's what they should do. The Yankees can't afford to lose Juan Soto, so roll up your sleeves. This could be a New York battle. I still want him to sign with San Diego. But when it comes down to some of these wild free agent signings, I have a scenario I've always wanted to see, and the last bunch of years have shown me that it might be the time to do this absolutely crazy experiment. Hey, let's hear from our friends over at Ibotta. Do you love the holidays, but you hate grocery shopping? Ibotta is making your Thanksgiving easier with cash back on everything you need to make your perfect holiday meal, so you can get the turkey and your favorite sides for free. This month, Ibotta is giving new users 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving feast. Just add the offers in the app to redeem for everything you need to make your Thanksgiving feast complete. All you have to do is shop at your favorite retailers and upload your receipt. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods, so you can get everything you need for the holidays as they're showing up. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you get real cash back that you can use to cash out for your bank account, PayPal, or for gift cards. You can also earn cash back on hundreds of online brands and retailers too when you start at Ibotta, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Download the Ibotta app and use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving feast starting November 1st. Just go to the App Store or Google Play and download the free Ibotta app and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Ibotta in the Google Play or App Store, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. And now let's hear from our good friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now you can bet $5. New customers bet $5, get $150 back in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the National Football League, all in one place. So if you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. There's something I've always wanted to see happen. And with a couple of truly, truly bad teams out there, I'm looking at you, White Sox. I'm looking at you, Colorado Rockies. I'm looking at you, Miami Marlins. Heck, I'm looking at you, Angels. Angels might be the perfect one to do this. I've always wanted to see a team do what I'm going to call this year the $3.8 million experiment. I'll tell you what I mean by that. The average payroll in baseball is roughly about $100 million. I mean, I'm just rounding it to something simple to handle. Just sort of, bear with me for a second. That's what the average the average payroll is right around that ballpark. Let's keep it easy. Let's say you have 26 players on your active roster. I would love a team to say to the free agent class out there to totally populate the team with major leaguers who are having trouble signing on with a club. And when you have pitchers and catchers about to report and the bus is about to pull up and you have players about ready to report, there are always a crap ton of players who are unsigned. And a lot of them are major leaguers. That's not, granted, you're not going to have any giant superstars. Although a few years ago, you had what? Bryce Harper was unsigned. Manny Machado was unsigned. Last year, the Cy Young Award winner was unsigned. So sometimes there's something like that. But people who aren't, average players, capable players who may have a bad year, may have been coming off an injury, may be just squeezed out of a situation. They may have been nickel and dime, the Rowdy Tellez situation, whatever it is. And to just say, we're going to fill our entire roster up with players who are unsigned and say, hey, we have a major leaguer at every position. We have a major leaguer at every spot in our rotation and every spot in our bullpen and all 9 position players and all the players on the bench. We have a 26-man roster with a major leaguer signed to a 1-year deal. And the deal is $3.8 million, which if you have a $100 million payroll, everybody gets 3.8 million tomatoes. And everyone's basically playing for their career. They'll be playing out their mind, trying to show that they belong in the major leagues. They walk away with they're millionaires. Everyone has it. And it's a team where everyone looks at each other going like, we're all trying to do well this year, prove that we're major leaguers. Maybe get 26 players each with a chip on their shoulder saying, you didn't want me? I'll show you. I can play in the major leagues. I know it's impractical. But you take a look at, obviously the White Sox, who are looking to trade away Garrett Crochet. How many major leaguers do they have on that roster? How many? How many there? How many are realistically on that roster right now? Not a lot. The player who led the team in WAR last year was there, and this is from the year where they broke the record. The top WAR player, not that I think that's the end all be all, but Eric Fady led the team in WAR, and he finished the season with St. Louis. This is a nondescript team. So he had 26 major leaguers on that squad. 26 major leaguers want to prove themselves. And they each get the standard $3.8 million contract. The backup catcher and the number one starter. Everyone gets the same salary, the same motivation. You're all millionaires. You're all major. You have a guaranteed major league contract. That is one of my great fantasies, to see a team, okay, maybe not as ridiculous as the whole team, but just grab all of them. You're a major leaguer at every spot. And it would be like the ultimate experiment of what happened with the Braves in 2021 when they lost their entire outfield. And they wound up getting Rosario, they wound up getting Peterson, they wound up getting Soler, and all 3 of them became heroes in the postseason. I want to see that. It may never happen, but it's one of those things that as I've been taking medication for my bronchitis, which, by the way, includes a steroid. So technically, I'm a juicer. I am a juicer doing a podcast. I was prescribed a steroid. Let's bring steroids back to baseball and have it be prescribed by doctors, so you could have performance enhancing drugs, and you could have especially for the process for healing and getting players healthy on the field as being done by doctors. Prescribe it. Come on. Don't inject it in the bathroom with A-Rod's cousin. So, have doctors supervise it. What's wrong with that? I'm doing steroids right now. And look at me. I'm doing a show look out in the contract. I'm doing it while I have bronchitis. I digress. I would like to see that. It may just be a crazy fantasy, but it always hits me when you have crummy teams. And part of the key, I think, to get out of crumminess is make sure you have a major league player at every position. Fill a hole with a major leaguer. And maybe that major leaguer has something to prove. Maybe that major leaguer wants to play for a bigger contract than $3.8 million. But if you're sitting around going like, God, I'm not going to get a job. I have to sign a minor league contract or maybe play independent ball. Or, hey, I got a guaranteed contract. It's not for the amount that I wanted, but it's for $1 million. It's over $1 million, and the first number is not a 1. That's not too bad. And then prove yourself. I want to see it. Some team out there, Rockies, Angels, do it. Try it out with Mike Trout and have the entire squad around Mike Trout just be major leaguers who want to prove themselves. Get a healthy Trout, get him some steroids so he gets nice and healthy, surround him with a bunch of major leaguers, get a ragtag bunch of misfits. Boom, it's a Disney movie and it writes itself. Feel good. When we come back, I want to talk about feeling good. And I want to talk about what we need to do to use baseball to help us all feel good. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of the high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here. With Robinhood Gold, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risks. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. All right, let's address the elephant in the room. And I don't mean Stomper, the A's mascot. I'm not even referring to the symbol of the Republican Party. This is not a political podcast. This isn't. And I've made that clear that this is going to be a respite. But we did have a big thing happen this week. And the election was a seismic event. For some people, it was a moment to celebrate. There's a lot of people who listen to this show who are thrilled with the results of the election. For some people, it was a roundhouse kick. And there are many people who listen to the show who certainly were saddened by the results of the election. Then there's some people who were angered and wanted to point fingers. And there's some people who wanted to gloat. And then there's some people who just feel like the politics and everything in our country has abandoned them altogether. So kind of a nihilistic point of view. What I'm saying is this is a charged time. And the divisions we have in this country and in our culture are so deep that sometimes it feels like it's irreparable. Sometimes it feels like they're permanent. And I am going to get to baseball. Baseball is connected to this. I'm not telling you how to think politically. I'm not telling you whether you should have celebrated or whether you should be despondent, whether you should have been cynical, whether you should have been gloating, or whether you should just not care. What I'm saying is the divide we have right now is so immense, and you see it. And so many times our instincts is to say, we'll never get together. We'll never find common ground. There's too much. And any conversation can seem to turn into a wild political one. Would you like a pickle on your sandwich? Oh, what are you, a liberal? Hey, don't you say let me because just ask for a pickle. So we can't keep going like this. We're kind of like someone who has some sort of addiction or something that you want to look and say, you got to change something. This can't keep going like this. The anger, the division. I'm not saying we have to be kumbaya. I'm not even saying we have to agree on things, but we need to find some things in our society, in our culture, that we can agree on and start from that point. There are people I know who are 180 degrees from me politically. I'm not apolitical. I have very strong political feelings, but they don't belong on this show. They come up from time to time because baseball does not exist in a vacuum. However, all are welcome on this show. Voted for Trump, voted for Harris, voted for RFK Jr., or for Jill Stein, or if you didn't vote at all, you were all welcome here because this is a safe haven. And I've made that clear. I've had people on this show who I do not agree with at all politically, but we have a common love of baseball. And that's the key. We're about to go into the holidays. Thanksgiving is coming around. And then comes the Christmas holidays, whatever you celebrate. I'm not a religious person at all. I still celebrate Christmas. Why? Because I like Christmas. It's fun. But for whatever, everyone celebrates something during the holidays. And a lot of times it involves people coming together family wise. And a lot of times you have people in your family who you don't agree with. And we are staring down a tough Thanksgiving and a tough Christmas holiday with people getting together and the potential clashes. I met someone at my high school reunion a few years ago who was 108, who I went to high school with, who I knew well. He's 180 degrees from me politically, very vocal on Facebook about it. We got into political arguments left and right, and we met up at my high school reunion. I'm kind of grinding my teeth going, he's going to bring stuff up. He's going to bring stuff up. However, on that day was the day that the Seattle Mariners had an epic comeback in the playoffs against the Toronto Blue Jays. And all we were doing, we were sitting listening to it on my app, and we talked baseball the whole time. And we had fun, we laughed, we gave each other a big hug. And I was thinking about that today, as there are people who are thrilled and there are people who are despondent. The way we move forward and find anything to make us be able to work together and not be this divisive is to find the little things that we have in common and build from that and hold on to that like a life preserver, even when you argue about things. Even when you have your disagreements, you say, but we share a humanity here that we both love baseball. You go to a baseball game, you're going to see people of all different stripes, and you see all different celebrations at the game. You can have a military night. Some of you have a Christian night. Some of you have a pride night. Some of you have a Dominican heritage night. All different types of people, all different points of view are there. And baseball is one of those things, one of those common ground places that we can latch to. Television and shows used to be able to do that, but that's all fractured too. The idea of there being a show we all watch or a special we all watch. No, we're all watching on demand, or we're all watching YouTube, or some of you are watching me right now. But sports can be a common ground element. Let's just talk about baseball. By the way, I don't know anything about college football. I couldn't name you a college football player if you offered me $1 million right now. But that is one of the reasons why college football should never adopt a playoff system in like a tournament system, because we need those football games going on during the holidays in case there's something really tense going on in the house. It's like, put on a game. Well, there's no baseball game going on, so you got to have the Mazda toilet bowl going on December 16th, between the University of Broken Dreams and Psychotic State, just so that there's something on. I guarantee you, if you're a baseball fan and you're having a disagreement with someone, if you find that first bit of common ground in baseball, to talk baseball, to reminisce baseball, it humanizes you to them and vice versa. It takes away the demonic, you're not on my side, therefore you're evil. You may think that, but we can't survive like that. We have to find the little things, tiny little things. I'm going to be 53 soon, and this is not someone who's going to live to 106. I'm hoping to make it to the end of this show. So we need that. It's critical. Baseball is going to play a crucial part in healing a lot of things in this country. I'm not saying it'll heal everything. There's so much we have to do to find common ground politically, and that's beyond my pay grade. That's why we elect people. You do that. And if we don't like what you do, we can vote you out. But for the interaction with people and living together, shopping together, being neighbors, being people who are in the community, we've got to find some things that we could both agree on. And baseball can be one of those things. It may seem insignificant, but sometimes a little insignificant thing can humanize that person you don't agree with. Whether you're left or right, center or nihilistic, we have to do it. There's a lot of bad feelings. There's a lot of venom and anguish and loathing and gloating going on. And when you do that, if you want to get those emotions out, that's great on the baseball diamond too. You want to yell trash can stuff to the Astros? You want to scream this or that to the Yankees? Go ahead. Get it out that way. I was on the great documentary about Bill Lee called Spaceman. Brett Ratkin directed it. Spaceman: A Baseball Odyssey, which is about Bill Lee and his trip to Cuba. I was one of the talking heads on it. And I was talking about, we did that back in 2004, I believe. 2004, 2005. And I talked about how, and W was president at the time. And I said, and Castro was still alive. I said, you can't have two people more diametrically opposed politically than W and Castro, and yet you put them in a room and have them talk baseball. I bet they'd have a fun time. That's what baseball can do. And that's why it's important we have it. And with the way the world is unfolding right now, this is the purpose of this podcast. And I'm going to keep it going all throughout the off season, because we're going to need some islands, respites, and things we realize, wait, what could we both do? That first thing, what can we both do? These two people who don't agree with each other. Is there anything we could both do? Talk about baseball. There you go. There you go. So follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or on Instagram. And I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about Soto. talking about bets, talking about a bad team loading up on major leaguers and not pulling a Rodney King, just asking us, can't we all find one thing in common? Can it be baseball? This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.